On today's episode of Cooking for Kyle, we will be learning how to make a chuck roast into a steak dinner. If you're a regular viewer of the show, then you probably remember me making beef with goulash, and I used a Whitaker beef chuck roast and sous vide it, and whenever it got done, I thought it was kind of a waste to put it into the noodles. I needed tougher, worse meat. So today I'm going to play around with doing something different. We're going to show Kyle how to, and it may or may not work, we're going to try to just eat a chuck roast like we would a steak and see how that turns out. So I went to the Whitaker beef drive-thru and I got 2 of these. This is a chuck roast, about 2 1/4 pounds, and it's in a sealed bag, but there's air in the bag, and so that's going to cause it to float in the water. So we don't want that. So we're going to take it out, remove it from all of its packaging, and we're going to repackage it into a Ziploc bag in the sous vide, the water displacement again, or air displacement. In our Ziploc bag and roast. So we open it up, put it in, and turn it so that it's not very tall. Okay, and then, as always, we push it underwater until all that air is displaced, and then we zip from one end to the other like that. Now I'm going to do it for the other one. Now we've got our beef in the cooler, and it's time to insert our immersion heater, and we're going to set it for, I think it was 135 we did last time, and that worked out splendidly, so we'll try that again just about a day. It's 4:20 p.m. on Thursday, so we will have a lovely Friday evening meal, I hope. "25 hours, and our meat is nice and tender, I think. And I'm going to let it sit in there for a little bit longer while I get some potato things ready. I'm a big fan of the red potatoes, but you can get any kind of potato you want. Rinse these off, and then we're just going to dice them up, leave the skin on them, dice them up, and put them in this pan of seasoning. Keep coming back to and cutting. Veronica did it too. She didn't talk about it, but she did it. She modeled it. We always want to, when we're cutting, we want to start with a big thing, and when we're done cutting it, we want it to be smaller than it was before we cut it, like that. Toss in some onions, and I'm out of fresh garlic, so in exchange for receiving the Mark of the Beast, they were able to give me some of this squeezed garlic at Walmart. You just throw that all in there. Doesn't have any taste, doesn't have any flavor anyway. And gonna go with the avocado oil for this. Bacon grease would be really good, but hey, I think this particular part of the meal might actually be vegan. It's probably about some amount of avocado oil, if you're wondering how much. That much. Get some salt. Got some coarse kosher salt here. And I'm always afraid when I'm putting salt in, I'm afraid that I'm going to put too much in. It's going to, like, you know, salt's the one thing, if you put too much in, it can ruin the meal, but, you know, I really respect Veronica's game. You know, she's not afraid. She's like, this needs a lot of salt. And she just like, boom, just throws it in there, and half a cup of salt, and I'm like, whoa. And it's like, it's always awesome. So I'm sure that I just use too much salt, but she always just knows how to throw it down. I put these out on 2 different baking pans, one just to give them more surface area to cook and crisp up, more potato exposure to more hot air, but the other reason is I'm going to flavor them differently. We have a variety of palettes in our house, so I'm going to do 2 separate pans, and one will be more basic and the other be more experimental. Basic pan, it already has the salt and the garlic, so we're just going to add a little black pepper and that'll be it. And then Veronica used this on her thing, so I thought, well, I'll pick some up, and it was pretty expensive, but I was like, I smell that, and oh my goodness, those Indians, they know how to eat. Man, I'm going to pour some of that on there. I have no idea how much, so we'll just try some amount. That much, no, not that much, more than that. Can't smell that good and not cover it up. And then we'll throw in a little turmeric as well. And man, Indian spices just smell tremendous. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll spice it up with a little crushed red pepper. This is not the one that Owen will be eating, I'm guessing. We're going to set these into our oven on convection at 450. I don't know if you know this, but the way that a convection oven works is if it's on convection at a temperature, it'll actually heat the oven to 25 degrees less than that temperature, so this will only get up to 425 since I had it on 450. But then it'll blow the air around, I guess accelerating the heat transfer and crisping it up faster or something. I don't know. I don't know anything about this stuff. We'll leave those in there until they're done. So now let's check in on our beef. So it's done now. This is how long it had cooked whenever we made that goulash meal. This is pretty much exactly how it was when we ate it. But and that was really good. That's why I'm doing this. But I'm going to do this one a little bit differently because we're having a different experience. So this is our chuck roast, and for the goulash we just kind of cut it up into little pieces, but we're wanting more to try to get this into a steak experience now. So what we need to do, we have to do a few things. One thing we got to do first of all is cool it. So I'm going to put it back in the bag after I've drained out all of the juices, and put it back in the bag, and I'm going to run some cold water over it. We're going to cool these off in the sink. Got some ice bottles and run some cold water. I'm going to shock these, get them nice and back like they came out of the refrigerator. And there's a reason for this, is because these are cooked fully right now, but they don't have that nice outer sear on them that you're going to get off of the grill. So we're going to need to grill these to give them that sort of steak texture, but on the outside, something to bite into, so it doesn't just, it's not like a roast that just kind of falls apart when you touch it. If we did that now, since they're already cooked, they would get tough. They would get overcooked if we did that. So we got to get them back to a cold state so that we can sear the edges, and as the edges get cooked, the inside will warm back up to the right temperature. Hopefully that's the goal. We're going to do the roasted frozen vegetables again. So you get your parchment paper out, you pour your frozen vegetables on there. And I got one with broccoli and one with broccoli, carrots, and cauliflower, because they always cook way more carrots, which I'm the only person in the family that really likes the carrots very much. So I like the mix though. So got one mix and one broccoli, so we got a lot more broccoli represented. I'm going to spray this down with olive oil, or some reasonable facsimile thereof. The word reasonable may be debatable in this context. Then we're going to salt it. And then we can put that in the oven with the potatoes. Yeah, those potatoes are starting to sizzle. Mmm, smells good. Been in for about 20 minutes, and you can see they're really starting to crisp up on top, but I'm going to kind of turn them so that we can get all sides equally exposed. Yeah, these are cooking up nice and quick. Ooh. We'll get those later. So my potatoes are cooking a little bit faster than I expected, so I'm going to go out and get the grill starting to heat up. You know you haven't had your grill very long if pushing the little button actually lights it. Get all those burners going. So keep in mind I've never actually done this before, so I might have a little section at the end to tell you whether it was any good or not. But we're gonna go ahead and get our roast back out, and now we're gonna kind of cut it into things that might be construed as, you know, portions or steaks. I mean, they're very thick, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the bone. Separate that part from the bone there. The bone goes. I should be doing this in the fast forward. So, let's see. Oh yeah, that's a nice. That's the color. That's the correct color of beef. So, I think I might just grill this one with the bone. It might be hard to get that meat out. And then I'm gonna just kind of separate this where the natural marbling allows. And then this guy, maybe cut it into 2 pieces like this. And so we'll have 3 big steaks and whatever this bone thing is out of this one. We'll do this with the other guy also. There are all of our steaks, and now we will set them out on a pan, and we're going to season these with some salt and pepper and garlic powder. So got the coarse salt again. Spread that over each piece, and then we'll get some garlic powder and some black pepper as well. Can't have enough black pepper. Right, Yergler? We'll do that to the other side. So my potatoes are about done, and I'm looking at this grill, and I don't know if it's quite hot enough to start. It's very important that your grill be very, very hot when you do this, because these should not be on there for very long. If you get them on there for too long, you're going to overcook them, you're going to dry them out. It actually happened with my chicken that I tried to make this way the other day, but I didn't say so on the video, so never believe anything I say. So here's our situation. We've got our grill. It's about 450. I'd like it closer to 500. Might need to wait a little bit. There's our chuck roast split up over there, seasoned. And I'm gonna open this. It's gonna let some of the heat out, but you can see I've got a big cast iron plate on there, and I'm gonna put some grease on there as well. What we're wanting to do is to sear these things, and so we want to maximize the surface area. We want to get that heat transfer in there as quick as possible. So we're not going to rely on air between the grills. We're going to put some hot grease on that hot cast iron and hope that just sears it right up right away. All right, we're approaching 475, and everything else is done, so I'm getting impatient. That's probably a big mistake, probably doing this too soon, but here it goes. Woo! See that hot smoke coming off of there? And we're gonna throw some bacon grease on. And I've never done this before. Let's see how this turns out. Alright, and we're going to grab our steaks, start putting them on. One about tried to fall. My tongs were resting too close to the fire, and they got really hot. There we go. We're gonna let them sizzle for a little bit, making sure all of them are flat against the griddle. Not too long. Turning these things over. We're definitely getting some crisp on. Side on the stove top and just this cast iron pan, but you would make a ridiculous amount of smoke in your house. You probably wouldn't want to do that. Alright, I'm worried that these have already been on here too long. I'm going to pull them off. And there's our steaks. Alright, so I'm not going to plate it yet. I just want to kind of see what we got. So I'm going to take one of these off. Cut a little sliver off of this. See what it looks like inside. A little more done than I hoped. Not too bad. Let's see how it tastes. It tastes good. Yeah, I'd say good. So now that you know everything you need to know about how to make this, Kyle, I'm sure that you're worried. You're like, well, yeah, I can make that, but how do I plate it? Well, here's how you plate it. So you start by, I always like to start with the meat. So I'm gonna pick up a piece of the meat and I'm going to put it on the plate like that. And if you feel like you've completely and utterly ruined the meat, you can use some A1 sauce to sort of cover over your sins. I like a little bit of horseradish to dip my meat in. And then you're going to take the potato and scoop it out and put it on there. And then you're going to get the vegetable and scoop and plate thusly. And you need to take a few extra carrots because you're the only person in the house that'll eat carrots. So, voila.